The situation of black people in Brazil is one of those places where I think outsiders maybe can see things that insiders don't see. Somebody once said to me, they didn't mean it unkindly, they said the movimento negro is a project of the Ford Foundation. They meant American money, American outsiders came in and empowered people here who wanted to make a black movement, which wouldn't have happened if they hadn't had help from outside. And the help was partly came from thinking, well, you know, we've, at least in the United States, we know we have a racial problem, right? We admit we have a problem with race. And so once you admit you have a problem, you can do something about it. Part of the problem in Brazil, it looks to me, I speak as an outsider.
Okay, please.
But part of the problem in Brazil, looks to me, is that for a long time, people just didn't admit there was a problem. So black people were sent to the servants' elevator in the building, and some of them were lawyers, right? And nobody, except them, noticed, right? And whatever explains that, and for the moment, let's not worry about whether we should call this racism or not. But whatever explains that, it's a problem. Something that needs to be thought about, right? There's no reason why a lawyer should, I mean, whether you should have servants' elevators, that's another problem. Whether you should have one place for servants, that's a different question. But if you have such a thing, then surely the right way to make the distinction between who goes in which elevator isn't on the basis of race, right? Oprah Winfrey, last week, complained that she had gone to a shop in Switzerland to buy a handbag, and the shopkeeper wouldn't show it to her because she just assumed that a black person wouldn't have enough money. Now, Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire, more than once, many times a billionaire. So she can afford a handbag, a really expensive handbag. But this white girl in a shop in Switzerland just couldn't see a black person as someone with money. At least that was Oprah Winfrey's view. Now, as I say, you don't have to call that racism. I don't care what you call it, but it's a problem. And I think there are problems like that in Brazil that don't, I mean, I know you've had talked about race more recently, and I know that you now have thoughts about affirmative action and so on, but still, I suspect that very, very many Brazilians still think that, what is this? There's no real problem here. There are rich people and poor people, yes, but the problems of black people in Brazil are the problems of poor people. They're not the problem. They're not specially black problems. And I think that's, you know, as I say, you don't have to call it racism, but that isn't true. There's a separate thing. It's not just about money. It's about race. It's about color. And until you accept that, you can't really make real social progress. And I'm very conscious of this because it's one of the differences. As I said, I spent half my childhood in Britain, and I spent most of my adult life now in the United States. There are many fine things about Britain and many fine things about the United States. But one of the problems in Britain is that British people have never really accepted that they have race problems. Whereas Americans accepted a long time ago that they have race problems. Accepting that you have a problem doesn't solve the problem, but at least it allows you to talk about it and to think about it. And I think, so if that's what you're asking, I would say in Brazil, at least try and identify what the issue is, and that means allow black people to say how it seems to them. I have the experience you have. I mean, I went to the ballet in New York the other day, and I looked around. I think there was one other non-white person there in New York. Now, there was a very fine black dancer on the stage, but I'm just talking about in the audience. New York is a very cosmopolitan city, but certain parts of the art world and the world of high culture are very white. And that's despite the fact that race is one of the things that American art has been about for the last 30 years. So, but at least we know this thing. We know that there's something to be thought about.